Welcome to the HDG Stories podcast, where we'll share our threads of memories, knowledge, experience, and history, knitting all generations into a beautiful tapestry. So please like and share, and be sure to subscribe. Now let's get started.
Hi, this is Ellie. Welcome to Havre de Grace Stories. Today's podcast excerpt is from an interview with Bob Wood on September 27, 2016. He was born on January 4, 1931. I want to give a special shout out to Cecil Hill for encouraging me to contact Bob. When Bob starts our conversation with, "You've never met anybody who's had a life like I have," well, I'll let you judge that for yourself. Welcome, Bob.
You've met or interviewed anybody that has a life like I have had and still haven't. Very, very busy. I've done everything. You name it, I've done it.
Well, I was going to say, based on what Cecil said, I looked at him and I said, and he lives in Havre de Grace? He said, he surely does.
And see, I don't know a lot of people in town, even though I've lived here all my life, born up in the country. Went to school in Havre de Grace and went into service and all that.
Okay, so let's start with, you were born in Havre de Grace?
No, I was born in a place called Lapidum, and I went to grade school there for 7 years, right across the street from where the road, actually the dirt road, and then I went to Havre de Grace High School for 4 years. And I have the last year was 11 years at that time, and I was the last student to receive only 11 years. And everybody else says, you finished high school? I said, yep. We only had 11 years. So it was unheard of at that time.
Do you remember what year that was you graduated?
1947.
Were you born at home?
No, I was born in the old Havre de Grace Hospital with Dr. Foley as a physician.
That's when it looked like a big house?
Yes.
Where you lived in Lapidum, none of that's there anymore, is it?
No, it's not. The state bought all of it. And
For the park and everything?
For the park and everything.
Did you live there the whole time that you were in school?
And after I graduated from high school, I knocked around for a year. My mother signed my papers to go into the military, and I was in the Air Force for 4 years.
What I'm after is stories of what your childhood was like. What did you do for entertainment, since we didn't have computers and television and all that stuff?
Well, when I was a kid, I had a knack for doing mechanical things. I was mechanically inclined, and I rebuilt a porch on the house, and I poured concrete, and I was only 14 years old at the time. And as far as entertainment, I used to go ice skating in the wintertime. And of course, we shoveled snow till we wore the shovels out. In that village, I call it a village, there was one telephone, and the guy in the corner had that telephone. He had a car, and we had a car. Only 2 cars in the whole village. I remember we bought the car in Aberdeen from the Ford garage. It's on Blair Avenue now, and it's not there. And we paid $600, and money was tight then. And we didn't have any money. We were very poor. We ate good. My grandfather, I lived with my grandfather, and he was a commercial fisherman. He helped raise me because my mother was divorced from my father, or he left home or something. And I didn't know my father when I was a kid.
About how many people lived in that area then?
Oh, I would say probably, we had a post office there. We had the canal used to run up there.
Yes.
We had a stable for the horses. They changed the horses there. My father had a bakery there. My grandfather had a grocery store and an apartment above it. And there was probably, I'd say there was 25 houses in that community, at least 25. But the pastime I had was I used to go ice skating in the wintertime.
Now, where did you go ice skating?
Out in the river. And of course, the rivers were cold. I mean, we get ice 3 feet thick out there in the river. You could walk on it. I mean, you could drive a car on it and everything. And that ain't been too awful long ago that you could drive a car on the ice.
So now, in the military, were you mostly in the States?
I'm a Korean War combat veteran. The war started on a Thursday, and I was there. 2 days later, I was there because I was already in the Philippines, waiting to come home because I'd served mine. And then we got a Truman year, and that's put another year on me. As soon as that war started, I was laying on my bunk, waiting to come get on the ship on a Monday morning, and first sergeant come in and tore my papers up. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Go get your tools. You're going to Korea." In about 14 hours, we were in Korea. Got there. I had some good times there. But I've seen a lot of death. A lot of death. I've seen more people killed overnight than the average undertaker takes and sees in a lifetime. And they were all the enemy. Most of them were the enemy. But I had some good times there. And I did a lot of flying. We flew back. We had my airplane. I wasn't a pilot then. We would take and fly our wounded out and ammunition back in. So we were constantly from Japan to Korea, which was a fairly short hop. And then I spent the coldest winter that I've ever spent. 25 below zero and the wind blowing about 90 miles an hour.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. The Susquehanna Reservoir where all our GIs got killed. And at that time, I got to fly in the airplane, the last airplane to leave the combat area with our wounded people. We were overloaded, taken off of a dirt runway. I remember it was like yesterday. And the only reason the Chinese were coming across the field at us. And the only reason the Chinese didn't catch us is we were riding and they were walking. That brings back memories. And then see, we had all our planes back then, these were all propeller driven. When I was in the Philippines, I had the distinction of, on the engine crew, of putting the first jet planes that were shipped over there on a ship. First planes, they come in three parts: engine, fuselage, and the wing. And then we put them together at Sangley Point Naval Air Station, and then fly them to Clark Field, 60 miles away. And one thing I did there, the jets had intakes on both sides of the fuselage, and we would have to take and run the engine up to a certain speed and then set the carburation of it, the fuel flow. So that was very time consuming. You had to run it up and stand there and see what the gauges read, and then crawl back in the hole and screw it up or down, right? So I said, wait a minute now, let's do this different. I'm going to crawl in the hole and you run the engine. So that's what I did. I crawled in the holes, and then we was putting them out then, and so maybe my hearing is not as good.
After the war, Bob married his first wife, Hamill, from Cecil County. At one point early in the marriage of their 34 years, he was laid off of his job at Patuxent Naval Air Station. He was building a home here in Havre de Grace, and they did not want to relocate. Here's a little more of that story.
We were building a house then, and I wasn't going to go anyplace. And I went to learn a trade. A friend of mine, Docky Green, was a bricklayer. And I said, Docky, I want to learn how to lay bricks. I said, you got the right job. He said, I got a house I'm just starting. So I went to work for Docky, finished the house, and we did the second house. Of course, I was out of a job. So then I run around different places learning bricklaying.
This is Docky Green that had the drugstore?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. He was a bricklayer?
Very good bricklayer. One of the best. I started a business. I was in business for 40-some years.
What was that business?
Commercial contracting. We were the largest commercial company in Harford County back in the early or late 60s. I had 74 employees.
Wow.
We worked in 5 states, 6 girls working in the office.
Was there a name for your company?
RC, HAR-CE, Construction Incorporated. We did all government work, federal work, state work, and county work, depending on where the job was. We loved to bid. I loved to bid jobs that nobody else wanted. We bid the hard job, really a hard job. And we did some hard work and made money, good money, yeah.
I know you had a sailboat and I know you had a plane. So
I've had 3 airplanes.
Okay, so when did those things come about?
Well, the first airplane was a tripacer. It was a plastic, cloth airplane, and then I had the.
When was that?
Oh, that's back in the 50s. I don't remember what year. The second airplane.
Now, did you build that or did you buy it?
No, I bought it.
Okay.
You had to, and I rebuilt it halfway through. I had to rebuild it, put new fabric on it. I did that myself. Also, over here in this house, I built an airplane underneath in the wintertime, ultralight, and had it inspected by the FAA, licensed by the FAA, and the guy said it was the best airplane he'd seen, home built.
You just learned about the first two planes that Bob had. His third plane was a Mooney Executive. We didn't have time here to share the Bermuda Triangle incidents and a little more of the story of that airplane.
I did a lot of instrument flying, and I like to fly when the weather's real bad, because I know what I'm doing, and everybody up there knows what they're doing. But if you go out here in Sunday pilot, and there's a couple clouds or something, and he don't know what he's doing, I don't want to be around that guy. And the other last airplane I got was a twin-engine Piper.
Bob built a boat he named Hummer. Like all things Bob does, this boat also has quite a story. From being built at his home on the shores of the Susquehanna River in Havre de Grace, it was later sold and used to teach sailing skills to the underprivileged youth in Washington. Later, refitted and renamed Ocean Watch, she made a record-setting, first-ever continuous, west-to-east circumnavigation by sail of the American continents. Visit our blog for more details. On a more personal note, listen to the unique method Bob uses to find a first mate and his second wife.
Getting back to the boat, I built a boat to retire on, sail around the world. I put an ad in the sailing magazine, one ad, and I put it in there, and everybody criticized me for it, because they read the ad. It was a national magazine on boat. I put on there a brief description, 64-foot sailboat, plan on sailing around the world, and would like to have a first mate with me. Worded, she must be able to have a child. See, I had no children, okay? I said, she must be able to have a child. Well, I must have got probably 26 replies.
Really?
Oh, my goodness. I said, I didn't know there was that many people around. Well, to make a long story long, I guess, I interviewed probably 8 of them. So anyway, I get this letter. The letter? No, it was a phone call. I get a phone call. No, it must have been a letter. Yeah, I guess it was a letter. And she said, I'm in Singapore, and I've been sailing around the world picking hops. You know, they do that. People will get a ride here and go and be a crew on the boat. So she said, I'm in Singapore, and I'm going to fly to Australia, and then from there I'm going in to see my relatives in the next night, New Zealand, I think it is. She said, I'll call you from there. I said, okay. So she calls and she says, well, I don't have any money, but I'd like to come meet you. And I said, okay. I said, I'll send you $700. The airplane ticket was $700. I sent her $700, and here she comes. 35 hours later. So I met her in BWI, and I had a sister at that time living in Baltimore. One of the apartments, not an apartment, but a townhouse. The fact is, I had one there too. But anyway, she stayed at my sister's. She was dead tired, you know. She went to sleep, and I went down to the boatyard. I had my boat in dry dock at that time. I had to climb up a ladder to get to it. I went back to the apartment. She said, let's go see this boat. I walked down. She said, oh, okay, climb aboard. Well, she stayed. I had 2 children.
Really? Who was she?
Jane.
So did she, when she saw your boat and everything, you guys got married?
Yeah.
Before you took the trip? Before you went on your trip?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Before we went on a trip.
You are an interesting.
Just a note, you'll hear a date of 1999 for when Bob began building the Hummer. This is corrected later. He began building his boat in 1979 and launched her in 1986.
I started building it I started in the shop 1999, December of 99, doing part of it, inside work. It was wintertime then. And I worked on it 6.5 years and 7,000 man hours.
64 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a sailboat.
Yes, ma'am. Had everything on it.
Bigger than my apartment.
It had a central vacuum cleaner to clean the floors. Had carpet. You could sleep 6 people. It had a water purification plant. It had a propane gas tank. It had a lot of gas. I forget how many gallons it was now. A 5-burner gimbal stove. In other words, the stove rocked back and forth. Had a pretty table in it. And I'm going to stop and go a little bit further. My wife now, we found out where the boat was at. My kids found out where they were at, where the boat was at now. And we had a chance to go out to Tacoma, Washington, where the boat was anchored, and take a ride on it. And I had built a table in this boat to eat off of and everything. that table, and all this time now, this is probably, how many years? Quite a few years. But this table was exactly as the day I built it. I was in perfect shape. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe my eyes.
Because that's like 17 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The table was, I could not believe it. It hadn't been refinished or anything. I mean, exactly like I had left. I couldn't believe it. I said to my wife, Jean, or my wife's name, Jean, that table, I built that table. And I said, it's in all the pictures. She said, yeah, I know it is. It's exactly unbelievable. Of course, they've made some changes to the boat because of their use.
Yeah.
But nothing so drastic that it changed that much. So we spent 2 days there. And they used the boat, at that time they were using the boat to take kids out, to teach them the ocean, how to sail,
Oh, wow.
all about the marine life and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all free. The kids didn't have to pay no. These were disadvantaged children that come from all kinds of.
Yeah.
I think it was about 15 of those kids with us. And they all got a chance to sail the boat.
Awesome.
Just a little ways, you know.
Now, you could sail this on your own?
Oh, yes. I had it rigged up so I did everything. I could bring it into the dock and dock it up. I didn't want no help.
Did you have a motor at all in it?
Oh, yes. Had a
Okay.
big engine. Had a 120 horsepower. Had a generator. Had 3 different electrical systems. And I had enough fuel I could run to England, across the ocean. Yeah.
Was this wooden?
One was steel. Weighed 40 ton. I'm a self-taught engineer. And I don't mean that lightly. I've had engineers tell me I can't do something. They made a mistake telling me I can't do something. The guys over at the Legion, at Legion right there, they every Saturday morning they'd come down and I'd go to work early. Before daylight, I would go to work. They had a pickup truck there. I never did find out who owned the pickup truck. But they'd have a bottle. They'd just pass this bottle around and start drinking. Well, after the bottle was about shot, they started getting mouthy. That boat will sink. The rear end is going to be down and the bow's going to be up. And I said, don't worry about it, fella. I proved them wrong.
Now, when did you actually move down here?
On this property?
Yeah.
Well, when we were in Bermuda, and she said, I'm not going to live in an apartment anymore. I said, well, we'll build a house. So while I was in Bermuda, I built a scale model of the house that I wanted to build. Even had stilts on it,
Yeah.
I put little dowels in it. Perfect. It was exact the way the roof is and everything. So I had an idea of what it was and showed everybody, and I started on that right away. Soon I got the boat off thing. I'm looking for another lady. You shouldn't live by yourself. Anyway, get on the internet, and I was discouraged because I wouldn't find anything that even resembled a decent person. You got all kinds of trash on the internet. So I was just about ready to give up. Sit down at the computer one night and turn it on. And here's this picture comes on, and I said, boy, that looks nice. So I get right on the thing and I want to meet. Yeah, I'd like to meet you. So we met up at Delaware. She was from Delaware. When we had a glass of wine, I said, I want you to come down and visit with me. And she says, well, I'll have to think about it. Okay. So in the meantime, she has relatives. One of the relatives is a professor at the University of Delaware. She gets on there. Hooked me up. So anyway, she gives her okay. So then she called her son. She has 4 sons. The youngest one just had a birthday, and he's 50. That's how old they are, So she gives her okay to come down. She calls her older son, and he said, well, look, Mom, he says, go down, leave your suitcase in the car, and then you look around and see what you think. So she come down, she wide-eyed, and I said, what do you think?
All right. The rest of this interview will be included in our paid program, plus a lot more great stories from Bob Wood. Please visit our website at hdgstories.com. Be sure to subscribe for our weekly podcast and consider our paid membership plans. Till our next chat, and in this case, a New Year 2017, have a great week and a Happy New Year.
We hope you've enjoyed today's HDG Stories podcast. We encourage you to subscribe. We hope you will share with your friends. Till the next story, we invite you to visit us at hdgstories.com.